What's going on, Jam Fam? Welcome back to the gaming station. So it's been a little while since I posted a video. If you don't know what happened, I made a community post about it, and I made an announcement on my Discord. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but I just had a major life event happen, and I needed some time to myself. But I'm back now, and they just announced some balance changes, so I figured I'd do an easy video and just go over my thoughts on the balance changes, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about these balance changes as well. So yeah, let's just get right into it because, you know, I'm not really good at these long intros or whatever. So the first one I want to talk about right now is Edgar.
Great.
Edgar got a supercharge nerf, so now it takes 2 less hits for him to charge his super up. Honestly, I think this is a really insignificant change. I think Edgar's going to be perfectly fine, especially if you have his gadget. Because right now his gadget basically gives him an entire supercharge other than like 4 hits or something like that. But even without that, his attack rate is so fast and his reload speed is so fast that he's still able to dish out a bunch of hits and charge your super very quickly that way as well. So yeah, I don't think these changes are really going to affect Edgar negatively in any way. I think he's still going to be perfectly viable in pretty much every game mode, so yeah. Alright, the next brawler I want to go over real quick is Jessie. Jessie got a damage nerf. I think it's like 5% or something like that. And in my opinion, they overdid her initial buff, where she got a huge damage buff on her first shot and they increased her projectile speed. Now, a long time ago, I did a Jessie video talking about how they should buff her, and I think those changes are exactly what they needed to make. But like I said, I think they overdid it with her damage buff just a little bit, and walking it back a little bit to get it more in line with some other brawlers is perfectly fine. I think Jessie's going to be in a really good spot still because she just can do so much consistent damage now that her projectile can actually hit a brawler you're aiming at, and then her turret has always done really good consistent damage. So overall, I think this is a justified nerf just a little bit, and I think they didn't overdo it, so I think she's still going to be perfectly fine in the meta. Alright, the next brawler I want to talk about is Byron.
You will pay for that.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Byron did not get touched in the January balance changes, so these are definitely justified nerfs in my opinion. They nerfed his HP and his damage just a little bit. Now, I can't personally speak on Byron's state because I still have not unlocked him, but according to the rest of the community, he's very strong, and just facing him, I'm not really scared of him, but I can see why he does such consistent damage with his damage over time and on his normal attacks and stuff. So, small nerfs to try to bring him back in line with everybody else is perfectly fine in my opinion. However, I won't be surprised if they need to nerf his damage again because the way his shots work and the way his damage stacks, I don't think you're going to really feel this small damage nerf because if you land 3 shots on somebody, they're going to take 3 ticks of damage, right? So that'll allow his damage to ramp up very quickly, so you're going to need to really nerf his damage down to make people feel it. And also, as far as I can tell, they didn't nerf his healing ability, so he still heals for the same amount that he used to before. It's just they nerfed his damage. So if that is actually the case, then he's more valuable as a healer because now he heals more than he actually deals damage. So if you are playing him and that is the case, try to focus more on healing than actually dealing damage because your team's going to get more value from you healing them up than you actually dealing damage to the opponent. In terms of just raw numbers, anyway. It depends on the situation, obviously. So, to recap Byron, I'm a fan of these changes. I think they were totally justified, but I won't be surprised if he needs another damage nerf in the future just because of the way his damage can ramp up and scale. Alright, so I saved the big changes for last just because they're going to take a little more time to talk about. The first one I want to go over is Bo. So they nerfed Bo's super totem effectiveness after you charge your first super from it. I'm not going to go too into detail about the way they nerfed it because it's super confusing, but basically, after you get your first super, the second super, when you get to the halfway point, the super totem's effectiveness is going to be 50%. I'm overall personally a fan of these changes. It actually discourages the campy cheese comps and playstyles that the totem allowed people to use. So like an example of that is the Bo Nani comp in Bounty, where Nani can just sit in the back and just rain peeps down for the entire match. Or like in Duo Showdown when you can just bush camp with your teammate and they can just charge their super. Like if it's a Brock, they can just constantly rocket rain, or if it's a Surge, they can just get up to max level without actually having to fight anybody. However, in my opinion, Super Totem is still going to be the preferred gadget for Bo in most situations, just because Tripwire is so bad right now. Ever since they added that 1.5 second delay to Tripwire, it's pretty much been useless since. In my opinion, they need to rework that so that, like, if you use Tripwire, it does less damage, or it can't stun, or totally do a whole new gadget entirely, because in my opinion, there's really no reason to run Tripwire right now. Super Totem, you're just going to get way more value out of more consistently than Tripwire, just because that 1.5 second delay is extremely hard to play around. Alright, we're going to move on. The last big change in this balance changes is Bee's Rattling Hive. This gadget got pretty much an entire overhaul, this balance change. So now it uses 4 projectiles, it does less damage, it no longer does piercing, so that once a projectile hits somebody, that projectile is out of the mix, and it got a flight pattern change, so it goes slower and it moves a little less or something like that. Honestly, in my opinion, this is too many changes at once. I think that making it so that the projectiles didn't pierce and the damage nerf would have been perfectly fine to make it balanced. Adding the 4th projectile makes it so it still does the same amount of damage if you get hit by all the shots. So that kind of makes the damage nerf moot point in my opinion. And I think the flight pattern change might have been a little overkill because now it doesn't seem like it lasts nearly as long and it goes a lot slower, so it's way too easy to dodge. I get why they nerfed it like this because it was a very solid gadget and it may be pretty strong, especially in modes like Solo Showdown and Duo Showdown. But in my opinion, this is probably too many changes all at once and they might have just killed the gadget unintentionally. But what do you guys think about all these changes? Do you think a lot of them are justified? Do you think they overdid the Jessie one or the Bo one? And what do you think about the small changes to Edgar, Jessie, and Byron? Like I said, personally, I'm a fan of most of these changes. The only one I think they overdid was Bea's, but all the other ones I'm on board with. I think a lot of the changes are small enough to the point where they either don't matter or they're just good enough to keep the brawler viable but not overpowered. And real quick, I just want to mention that I'm going to try to get back onto my normal upload schedule where I'm getting 2 videos out a week and a stream every Saturday. I did stream last Saturday, and this is technically my first video this week, so I'm going to try to get another one out later this week. So make sure you stay tuned for all that stuff. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up now. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.